Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so economists are now stating that we are having the worst inflation that we have seen in 40 years. In other words, since 1981 or 82, when Ronald Reagan was in office and we were introduced to Reaganomics, which we have pretty much been operating on ever since that time. So why are we seeing this massive inflation right at this time? The pandemic is no longer an issue for economics. It is still with us, but it is not to a degree where it is influencing economics. I'm not going to get into the debate about whether this is because of vaccines or because the virus itself is self-attenuating. With each new mutation, it has become weaker and weaker. And so let's just say both of those are true. Okay? And end that there. Now, we're not going to discuss it again. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. So yesterday, on Wednesday, June 15th, the Federal Reserve announced that they were increasing the core interest rate by 75 basis points. I don't understand at all why they use this term of basis points. 75 basis points equals 0.75%. Increase, decrease, whatever, it's the exact same thing. It's how many, whatever percentage. So if they raised it by 200 basis points, that would be a 2% increase in the core interest rate. A lot of people were kind of surprised when the stock market showed an increase yesterday. But this is not a surprise. Every time that they announce an interest rate increase, what happens is that day, possibly the following day, the stock market goes up somewhat. So what's happening there is that investors are borrowing huge sums of money on that day to buy stocks. Corporations are borrowing money to buy back their stocks because the following day it's going to cost them more money to do so. And then you see a sudden drop in the stock market because once they inflate the stock market, then they start selling off stocks because they know what's coming next. Now, let me go to a picture of this just to show you. So as you can see, the stock market was dropping. Yesterday it goes up. Here it is today, a drop of 741 points. So the stock market is now down 17.64% for the year. And I've been predicting this. All right. But the stock market is now in the longest decline since the Great Depression in 1929, 1930. We are now in the longest period of decline of the stock market. I've already said what would happen here. But let's go into something else. All right, gas prices and oil prices. So as of right now, oil is trading at about $17 a barrel. I mean, $117 a barrel. Just a couple of days ago, it was trading at $122.40 a barrel. Why did it drop? That's because of the interest rate increase. A good part of this is because oil traders will borrow huge sums of money to buy oil futures. Once the interest rate goes up, they're not going to be borrowing as much. They can't force the price up. Last year, in November, I was showing where oil traders were hoping to push oil to as much as $300 a barrel this year. And in January, they were still hoping to push it to $200 a barrel. And I did videos on that. And this is, if you do a search on oilprice.com, you can find those articles. I can't show them to you here because of their, policies on sharing any information from their site without getting prior permission. But you can look it up for yourself. November last year, January this year. A lot of people are saying, well, Biden doesn't control oil prices. No, but governmental policies absolutely have a predictable effect on oil prices and on the economy. I've been predicting these things. I'm a nurse, sitting here in my den, studio, whatever you want to call it, and I've been predicting these things. I've been telling you in prior videos what was going to happen, and I've been right every step of the way. So now, the governmental policy of sanctioning, placing an embargo on Russian oil and pushing Europe and other countries to do this has an effect. It drives up the price of oil. It also affects the availability of oil. Biden is trying to push China and India, the two largest consumers of Russian oil, to stop buying oil from Russia. But if you want that, you have to be able to give something in return. What is he offering? There's nothing that we can offer. There's nothing the United States can offer them which is going to replace this. So right now, you've got energy shortages and the highest prices for energy in history in Europe. What does that do? And other countries are also paying. The whole planet that's not buying from Russia are paying record prices for oil and gas. That drives up the price of consumer goods coming from those countries. So if you drive up the prices of goods from those countries, then anything that you import from those countries is going to cost you more, which impacts the cost of consumer goods here. So again, back to why oil is going down. Well, with increases in prices, the general inflation, which they state is 8.6% or some garbage like that. If you've gone grocery shopping lately, you know dang well that inflation is a lot more than 6% or even 11%, whatever they're claiming, you know it's a lot more than what they're saying. So even though consumer spending overall may be up slightly, which isn't really true either, because now the Federal Reserve has stated that the GDP growth for the United States is now at 0.0%. We are one step away from a negative GDP growth. Even though you might be spending more, that means the volume of goods being sold declines. So this affects how much oil is predicted, oil futures, is expected to be sold in the next few months. Right now, as I've also predicted, corporations are starting to lay people off. Plus, you've got people voluntarily separating, resigning, quitting from their jobs. The return of the great separation is happening. Now, if you look at the unemployment rate or the labor participation rate, it's not really going to tell you a lot. The labor participation rate has not recovered from 2020. Like it or not, it has not. The resignation rate has remained constant since last year at about 3.9 by the way that they calculate it. However, last year during the Great Resignation, they also altered the way that they calculate the labor participation rate. So if you got more people quitting, more people being laid off, less being produced, less being sold, then you're going to see a decline in oil demand. This is all going to temporarily drive the price of oil down. But that is temporary. The agreements to embargo, just stop buying oil and gas and so forth from Russia, for Europe, to buy from Russia. It has been agreed upon, but it has not yet taken effect. Once it does take effect, then countries that have agreed to this embargo, they're going to be fighting, competing with each other to buy oil and gas from whatever sources they can, which means that there are a lot of people fighting for the last slice of pizza at the buffet. And so it becomes a bidding war. So I really do expect to see $200 a barrel oil in the United States this year. I do expect to see that. All right. So, food. Ukraine is still refusing to export their grain. Turkey and Russia have made an agreement that for Ukraine to demine their ports at Odessa and so forth. Russia and Turkey will escort the ships safely away. Ukraine is refusing to do this. Of course, Ukraine has been refusing to export their grain over land routes, which Putin and others have pointed out that they could use land routes, railways, trucks, whatever, to export grain. But they have refused to do that either. So Ukraine has effectively weaponized their grain supply. Meanwhile, Russia has they are having a bumper crop, which they were predicting, but it had to come to reality. Even the last few weeks before harvest, if you suffer major weather events, it can destroy large parts of your crop. So Russia is now going to start exporting grain, especially wheat, but only to countries that are not imposing sanctions on them. This is understandable. Would we be exporting any our agricultural goods to countries that are sanctioning us? No, we would not. This is normal. So you don't get to attack it. This is normal. So I expect that Russia is also going to have the contingency that they won't sell to this country and then that country turns around and sells it again. But maybe not. Who knows? Let's wait and see. If that country turns around and sells it again, it's going to be at a jacked up price. Again, understandable, but we'll wait and see if this is going to be allowed at all. Or if Russia says, if you sell to people that are sanctioning us, then we'll stop selling to you. That could be a problem. But, of course, I pointed out that Russia and Ukraine are not the only issues. India is not exporting grain because of a drought. Kazakhstan is not. A number of other countries are just not exporting grain right now because of various, mostly weather-related events, drought, and so forth. So we can expect bread, flour, beer to start going up in price. And there's no denying that that is going to happen. Right? So Biden has made exceptions to companies importing fertilizer and something and grain from Russia, but they still have the transportation, sanctions so that ships cannot transport things. The flow of gas from Russia to Germany through the Nord Stream pipeline has been decreased because there are 2 turbines that were sent to Canada for refurbishing. Siemens has said that they would ship the turbines back, but they don't have any ships to send it because of sanctions. So that's going to drive up the price of gas in Europe even higher. So where is this going to end? With millions, I have already said it. It's going to end with hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of deaths. Double to triple digit inflation. We are going to experience in this country runaway inflation, the likes of which have never been seen in American history. I hope you're ready for it. There are solutions to this, but none that our country is willing to take. If you're still in favor of warfare, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. You need to be objecting to what's going on, and you need to be contacting elected officials for diplomacy, for peace. That's the only way out of this. All right, share this video, talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.